Hello and welcome to True Mobility with the Power of Pivotal UX in Your Back Pocket webinar. We'll be recording today's presentation so you can share and view this content later. For the best view of the webinar, maximize your screen. Please type your questions into the Q&A field and we'll answer them at the end of the session. Now, I would like to introduce Stephanie Cruz, Senior Customer Success Manager.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining our session today entitled True Mobility, the Power of Pivotal UX in Your Back Pocket. We don't have any PowerPoint presentation slides that we're going to be going through today. Today's session is going to be completely done through the use of demonstration. And as the title suggests, we're going to be focusing on true mobility capabilities and really putting the power of Pivotal literally inside your back pocket. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Now, we will save some time at the end for questions, hopefully. So if you do have any questions, by all means, feel free to keep track of those, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can before we wrap up for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I am not using any type of utility or using any type of emulation. This is actually being done live on my smartphone right in front of everybody today. And I happen to be using an Apple iPhone for no particular reason. Pivotal UX, in case you're not aware, is an HTML5 based application, so it does run on any standard internet browser. So whether you're using Android or whether you're using iPhone or any other type of mobile product, the system should work just fine on those capabilities as well. So I've gone ahead and logged into Pivotal, and when we're on a smartphone, we have limited access to the amount of available screen space that we have. So we want to make sure that we maximize the use of that screen space. We're going to be running through a number of key examples of how we can use Pivotal UX to really help us accomplish a large number of tasks that probably many of you thought weren't possible on just using a smartphone itself. So one of the things that I wanted to start off with was talking a little bit about the Action Center. So in the Action Center, we have access to a number of dashboard utilities that allow us to preview different types of information. And we're going to come back and talk about dashboards in just a little bit. But the very first dashboard that actually comes up for me is something called Current Activities. And underneath Current Activities, I have the capability to display content that's actually coming into me from our integration with Microsoft Outlook. So we have deep integration through Exchange. And during one of our previous sessions, if you were able to attend that, we did talk about integration with Office 365, the desktop version, as well as Office 365, the cloud-based version. And so whether you're using the desktop or the cloud-based version, it doesn't matter. We'll be able to take those details from your meetings, from your tasks, from your emails, and be able to populate that information inside of Pivotal. So what that gives me the capability to do is to take that data and display it for me. So when I'm actually using Pivotal, it will display my current activities. These are activities that I have coming up. And I can set that scale, that time scale, to be activities that I have today, activities that I have over the next 3 days, or maybe over the next week. I can fine tune that scale. So you'll see that I have a couple of activities listed here, one on the 25th, which is tomorrow, and one early next week. So I've set my time scale to be a little bit broader for us to be able to interact with that. But it'll tell me what activities I have coming up. Now, these activities are basically meetings, and this is a staging place for me to store all of the details and a lot more information about those specific meetings. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to open up one of the meetings for us to take a look at. And when I open up that meeting, it actually displays a lot of really neat information for me. So first of all, I can get an understanding of what that meeting is, a description of it. I also have access to very quick key details. Now, this is not a contact record. It's not a company record. This is the meeting form. So this is telling me what I need to do, when I need to do it, and exactly what needs to be accomplished. And actually much more than that. And keep in mind that we haven't even looked at any other features within Pivotal. We just went to the main home screen. We just logged into the application. It gave me a meeting that I needed to prepare for. And so now we're going to go through the process of preparing for that specific meeting. So I come out here and there's the phone number to actually place a call. So if I wanted to call John, I can just do it right from here. I can also come out here and I can see the contact who we're going to be calling and the company that they're associated with, the time and the date stamp, and the topics that we're going to be discussing in that particular meeting. I can even have attachments associated with this meeting. So it's just a complete staging form for me to be able to complete those activities. Now, there's a number of things that I can accomplish right from here. If I wanted to place the call, all I have to do is hit the call icon, and I can actually make the call right from my phone. And I'll actually dial the number right from here. I can also go out here and view information and more details about the contact or the company. So if I wanted to do some research on this meeting, we can gather some details right from here. Again, I don't even have to look up any information. All this information is being pulled over and associated from Pivotal into this meeting staging form that we're actually using and displaying right here. So if I come out here and just select a company, we're going to do a little bit of research on this call that we have coming up before we actually place it. So I'm just going to navigate right to the company record. And one of the interesting things about Pivotal UX is that we use point-specific forms when we're on a mobile device, and we can classify point-specific forms for any device type. Now, what that specifically means, and this really has the main focus on maximizing the available space that you have on the device. I can have a different form available for my smartphone users and a different form available for my iPad users or tablet users and a different form available for my desktop users. Now, we have another session coming up here on June 6th, which is going to be talking about maximizing our experience by giving us more real estate space, basically talking about Pivotal in the desktop version. But when we're talking about using Pivotal on a mobile device, we want to be able to maximize every square inch of available space. And to do that, we utilize those point-specific forms so that my end users have a very neat, clean, and tidy user interface, because they just don't have that much space to work with. So I want to provide very specific functions for them to interact with and not give them access to every single potential feature that you would see on a desktop, because it gets too cumbersome and it's very, very difficult to find information in that format. So the way that we actually display information in the UX form type for a small device, we actually display information on the top portion of the screen. So you'll see a number of icons listed up there. I get some details about the company itself, who the account manager is, contact information, names, streets, addresses, all are displayed right here. And of course, links for me to interact with those if I want to do so. If I go through the top portion of the screen here, I have more information available to me to help me in my research. So for instance, I can see who else is on my team who's sort of supporting me in working with this particular client. I can also track things at the group level. So if we want to tie a specific status or tie these this customer, this client of ours, to a group, like maybe they're a reference customer, or maybe they participate in case studies or something like that, we can make those accommodations. That helps me to be able to search on this information later. In case I want to look up a quick reference customer, I can associate them with the group and pull them up that way. I can also start looking at like their company structure. So because of the way the Pivotal database is situated, we can create many-to-many relationships inside of Pivotal. Well, this becomes very useful because now we can actually keep track of an entire hierarchical structure of a company, also within contacts as well. And we'll demonstrate that a little bit later on today. But I can come out here and I can see their company structure. If they had a parent company, it would be displayed here, but I can see any subsidiaries that they have, and I have navigational aids to be able to access that information if I want to drill into those records from here as well. And again, we haven't even left the dashboard. Pivotal is just navigating us through all of this information that we want to be able to review. If I scroll over one more, I can actually take a look at all the contacts. So John Black is the person that we're meeting with today. And if I go over and review all of these different contacts, we can get an understanding of who these contacts are. Now, the information doesn't just stop with those two columns that we actually see on the screen here. I can actually scroll across to get more information. You'll see that kind of demonstrated a lot today. But the way the forms are actually set up, it's very clean for you to be able to view information. Information is not being cut off on the screen. You can view all the information very easily and legibly. But if I want more information, typically it's just a swipe away for me to be able to gather those details. And that's really how we've designed Pivotal UX to make it very easy for you to be able to interact with and do so on a small scale like this. If I continue to scroll across, we have a lot of information that becomes available to us. So here we have all of the activities. Now these activities are basically coming in from meetings, tasks, emails. So we can actually come out here and view the details. Now there's a preview pane that actually displays the details of that specific meeting for us. So we can actually see what transpired and get an overview of what's going on with that meeting. So it allows us to kind of review key details right from here. And I can come out here and track call reports. Now you're going to hear me talk about call reports a number of times today, but call reports are very important because as we're having not just a meeting, but we're having interactions or calls with clients and customers of ours, you may want to keep track of that information. And so we can do that in the form of a call report and tie it back to companies, back to contacts, back to opportunities, back to leads, so that when people are doing research to find out who had the last conversation with a customer and what that conversation actually entailed, we can make that easy to find in the system. Now, again, as we just saw earlier, I can swipe to get more information. So if I scroll across, I can see what they talked about, and we do sentiment analysis too in the system. This becomes very important for us to kind of get an idea of, the last time we spoke to the customer, were they friendly? Were they kind of cool to us? Usually when you chat with somebody, you can get a pretty good feel of how the conversation went. And tying that sentiment analysis in there can give the next person that talks to them a little bit of forewarning as to how the conversation actually transpired. Now we can start getting into some of the details here. So here we can take a look at opportunities that we might be working on with this particular client. And of course, I can come out here and just tap on those. And you'll see a little menu pops open for me, giving me some very quick details, such as what the decision date is and what the total value of this opportunity is. Pops up for me very legibly, very easy to see right on the screen. If I continue to scroll across here, I can see past order history. Okay, so now in preparation for this meeting, I can see, okay, what was the last order that they actually placed with us and the details for that. Now, some of you actually integrate your pivotal systems with back-end ERP systems. And so your order date might not necessarily be stored in Pivotal, but even if it is stored in a separate system, through the use of integration, we can perform this same type of interface and be able to provide this level of detail so that people can actually come in, and even from their smartphone, they can actually come down here and review past orders and kind of see the details for that. We didn't have to navigate away from the screen. All the details are being presented for us right here, and we can define and configure the information that's actually being displayed on the screen to make sure that it's the most useful. If I continue to scroll across, I can actually see the products that this customer owns of ours. And I can even store attachment information in here. And you'll see me come back and talk about this a lot because it is very useful information in the system to be able to store. Whether you're using a document management system or you're storing the data locally, Pivotal handles both criteria very easily. So let's go back and continue our research today, because one of the things we want to do is we want to actually go out and take a look at John Black's profile. So we researched a little bit of information about the company itself, but I can go back to contacts here and I can navigate right to John Black from contacts, again, not having to jump around the system too much. And I want to do a little bit of research on what's going on with John Black today. And so in addition to being able to store your basic information, phone numbers, contact information, email addresses, we can also store links to social media as well. So if you want to be able to go out and see what John Black has been chatting about, you can actually go right out there. If I just tap on the link, it'll automatically log me into John Black's Twitter account. I can go and see what John Black's actually been talking about in the system out on Twitter. I can do the same thing for Facebook. And again, it just navigates me right back out into, that happens to be my profile, just so everyone knows. But you can actually go out and view that information in the system and store those links. Again, clicking on the back arrow just takes me right back to the place that I was in Pivotal. Again, very seamless, very interactive way of using other features and other functions on the phone, such as Facebook or Twitter applications, and then being able to navigate very quickly back into Pivotal itself. And if we go across the top portion of the screen, a lot of different features become available to us, such as seeing the team that's associated with this contact as well. Also being able to track relationships. Now, some of you are actually tracking relationships inside of Pivotal today. And if you're tracking those relationships, then the relationship tabs become very useful for you, because when you have a contact record inside of Pivotal, you can automatically see the relationships that are accumulated based on the data that you're collecting inside of Pivotal. So we can see from John Black if there are any contacts that are related to John Black and any related employees. This can help me in a business situation because I can maybe go chat to somebody internally that might know this contact personally and helping me to prepare for this particular meeting. There might be other contacts from other customers that we have a relationship with. And if I want more information than what's displayed on the screen here, because right now all I see is related contact and relationship type, again, I can scroll across the screen. Here's the company status, last touch point, address. There's a wealth of information that becomes available to me, and it's just a swipe away on the screen for me. So I continue to scroll across. We looked at opportunities before. The same thing applies here. John Black was only associated with 2 of the opportunities that we had for ABC Company. We can get those details right from here. The same thing goes for orders. So we can track the order details just as we saw earlier. And again, those interactions will be displayed here in the system as well. Another option is for us to store that call report data here at this level. And again, it's a very useful way for us to track that back at the organizational level, but also at the contact level in the system itself. So let's go back to our original meeting that we had set up in the system. So we did a little bit of research. And so I'm going to go in and I'm just going to access John Black's profile. And this is our meeting form that we were actually looking at. And right from the meeting form, remember, we could actually go out and do research on the company and the contact right from here. Now, I can also go out and review the presentation that I have associated with this meeting. Now, this presentation may be an attachment that I had originally included inside of the meeting itself, which we can then populate inside of Pivotal and store as a record on this form type when we actually create the meeting itself. So there's a number of different ways to get that data inside of Pivotal. But from here, all I have to do is just click on that, and I can open up the PowerPoint presentation and review it right from here. So here's my PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be going through in the system itself. Very quick, easy way for me to be able to review that information. I can go right back to where I was looking at before. Now let's go ahead and say that we've actually conducted our meeting. We had a conversation to review the final proposal with John. We went through the PowerPoint presentation with John, and we've conducted our meeting. We want to capture some details about what transpired inside that meeting. I can do that by creating a call report. And so I can create a new call report by clicking on the plus sign here. And when I do that, it will copy over the links. So we know that it's for John Black, it's for ABC Company, and it's already associated with that information in there. I can define what our conversation was about. And these are basically just terms that you can define for yourself inside the product. But what I can start to do is I can start to leverage technology on the phone. So if I hit the microphone icon, I can capture some details about this meeting just by talking into my phone. It's very impressive. And once you start doing this, you'll never want to type again. So I know that's a very specific use case, but you can actually use this functionality to capture details, capture information right when you're on the go. It makes it very easy to be able to interact with Pivotal, store that information as an interaction inside of Pivotal, and basically capture those notes right from here. So let's go back to our Action Center again, keeping in mind that we just barely scratched the surface in here. We were actually only on this very first dashboard element. There's much more to dashboards inside of Pivotal UX. For instance, I can actually come out here, and in addition to looking at current activities, I can click on the little arrow down here at the bottom portion of the screen. You'll see that I can navigate through the different dashboards that I have set up on the system itself. And there's a little checkbox icon up here in the upper right-hand corner. If I click on that checkbox icon, it will tell me what dashboard elements I currently have available to use. And I can choose to enable or disable those on my smartphone. So it allows me to choose my preferences. How many of these dashboard elements do I want to have displayed there? And we can actually modify what's being displayed on the dashboard, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. These actions are basically tasks that are coming over from Outlook 2, and they're being populated very much the same way that we saw underneath our current activities. The current activities tells me time and date stamp what I need to do, and if I go into the details, there's all kinds of things that I can do right from that staging form that's actually displaying that information. Actions are the same thing, except they're focused on very point-specific tasks that need to be completed. But I can also all kinds of other information. So here's my opportunity pipeline, for instance, if I'm in sales. And this is not just a pretty picture. I can actually interact with the data that's on the screen right here. And when I do that, I can just tap on any one of these segments, and a secondary pop-up will actually show up for me, allowing me to review the information that's actually being displayed here. And as I mentioned earlier, all I have to do to get more details is just kind of scroll across the screen to be able to see those details right from here. Very powerful way, but it allows me to filter the content and really drill into that. And that's one of the topics that I often mention very frequently is using dashboards and graphical dashboard elements as a navigational aid to be able to drill into information. Rather than just displaying information on the screen in a list, put it in a graphical format and allow people to interact with the graph. Drives them right to the information they need to be able to view, and then they can drill in further if they need to go to that level of detail. It's a very powerful way to interact with your CRM system, and this is right on your smartphone. So if I continue to scroll across there, basically the same information that we were just looking at before is actually being displayed right here underneath my pipeline, except it's just being delivered in a different format. And I can go out here and I can take a look at maybe hot leads and different classifications that we have for leads in the system. Now you'll notice some colorful icons on the screen here. I'm not going to talk about those icons just yet, but we're going to come back and talk about what those icons mean and how powerful they actually are in helping me to determine what I need to be focusing my efforts on next. But before we go any further, one of the things that I want to make sure I touch on is searching for information inside of Pivotal. And there's a number of different ways that you can actually do that. So I'm just going to navigate back to our main screen here. And let's talk a little bit about searching for information in Pivotal. There's a little globe icon in the upper right-hand corner. And if I just tap on that globe icon, a little pop-up comes up for me. And it allows me to search across a number of different tables inside of Pivotal, such as companies, contacts, employees, leads, notes. This is all configured by my security access into the Pivotal system itself. And even if I have security access to more information, I may want to limit what's being displayed up here just for the sake of usability. If I have too much information to scroll through, it can be very difficult to find things. But I can cater my search to focus on one entity. If I just want to look up companies, I can select companies, or contacts, just contacts. Or I can choose to select all. It's a global search. Most of us are very familiar with that functionality inside of Pivotal. But I can come out here and I can just type in John. And it will go out and search across all those entities for John in the system. And I can filter this content by just selecting that I want to filter just contacts up here, and it shows me all the John contacts in the system, or I can go and select all and view the rest of the information, look at the John leads, the notes, opportunities that are associated with the contact name John in the system, and so on and so forth. Just another way for me to use the global search functionality to navigate to the information that I'm looking for. But there are other ways that we can actually search for information very quickly, very easily. If I come over here to the left-hand side of the screen, and I tap on the little 3 bars. Now, you've seen me do this a couple of times already. There's a submenu that pops open for me, and it allows me to actually navigate to other areas within the application with ease. You'll notice that when I'm working inside of this limited real estate space, the menu bar disappears automatically, and that's by design. So we don't have much space, so we want that menu bar to kind of move in and move out as we need it. But you can always click on the 3 bars and have that navigational menu pop open for you. Now you'll be able to come out here and you'll be able to look up information on companies by just tapping on companies. You'll see a number of options pop open for you for that. I can come out here to contacts and I have even more options available to me. Now these options allow me to very quickly and easily navigate inside the system to not only find information, but to create new content in the system, such as creating a new note or creating a new meeting, to be able to very quickly do tasks and put the very key things right at your fingertips so that people can access them very quickly. But I can also search for information, such as being able to pull up my contacts. So I just hit my contacts, the system will go out and pull up all of my contacts in the system, anything that's been assigned to me as an account rep. I can also go out and say, I want to pull up my key contacts. All right, you'll see a little icon listed there signifying that it's a key contact. I'll come back and talk about those icons just a little bit later as well. But I can also come out and do what we call a quick search inside of Pivotal. And so underneath a quick search, it pulls up a standard listing of common things that I might want to search on. And this is completely configurable, but it allows me to come out here and say, okay, I want to search on John, for instance, just like we did before. And I can search on all contacts in the system that have the name John associated with them. And it'll pull up all of our Johns for us. I can also come back out there and say, okay, I don't want to search on John. I just want to search on everybody. So I'll just leave it blank, and it'll pull up every contact that we have in the system. But I can also fine tune my content very easily. So instead of just pulling up everybody, let's say that I want to do a search. Well, now I can come out here, and if I click on the little hourglass at the top portion of the screen, I can actually come out here and say, okay, I want to be able to filter on account manager, and I want that account manager to be myself. In this case, it's going to be Jane Atkinson. That's the role I'm playing here. And I want to be able to perform that search, so it only pulls up those accounts that are assigned to Jane Atkinson. So now it's pulled up my accounts in the system. I can also come out here and say, okay, I want to further filter that based on city. So I click on the plus sign up here to add that to my criteria, and it's going to search on city for me. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to type in a city. I'm going to type in Los Angeles as a city, and now perform that search. And now we have fewer listed there as well. And I can continue to add to that criteria just by clicking on the plus sign and being able to filter that down in the system very quickly and very easily. I can also come out here and choose my own query. So I can say, okay, instead of doing the contact quick search, just pull up all of my key contacts. That is a search that's been pre-built in the system. And so it's going to pull up my key contacts just as we saw before. So there's 3 different ways that you can search very easily. You can use predefined criteria. You can put in your own custom criteria to find information very quickly. You can use global search, and you can even just use your own standard query. So I guess 4 instead of 3 that I just mentioned there. But again, finding information very quickly, very easily, and again, all on my smartphone. Incredibly powerful stuff to be interacting with. One other thing that I wanted to mention was creating content in the system. And this is a very important topic of mine that I do like to talk about quite frequently. If I come out here and I select contacts again, I have the ability to create a new contact in the system by just selecting new contact. Now, when I create a new contact, it's going to pop open a different looking page than what many people are familiar with. This is a way for you to be able to do 2 things at once. One, you're going to be able to create a new contact, but secondarily, you're also going to help in reducing the number of duplicate entries in the system. And this is such an important topic. I talk to a lot of customers about this specific topic because many of us think that data duplication is something that happens on the back end with many different algorithms and extensive processes and queries. And that's all wonderful stuff, and it all does a great job of helping to keep our system clean of data. But one of the things that we can do to help curb the number of duplications in the system is to start acting more proactively and use the CRM system to our advantage. And this is one way to do that. So when I selected new contact, it took me to this form. It didn't just take me to a new contact form where I could just start typing in information. It said, whoa, first of all, let's see if there are any possible matches. And the form is laid out, so it's guiding me through the process, not allowing me to just create a new contact right from the start. So I come out here and say, okay, well, let's see if John is in the system. Now you'll notice that as I tab through these, it's filtering matches down at the bottom portion of the screen for me automatically. So I can see, okay, well, it did find 4 Johns in the system. Let's see if it finds my John in the system. And it did. So we don't have to create a new contact in the system. I can actually just select John Black. I can open up his records, see if that is indeed the John Black that I'm thinking of, and I can continue to add more. Now you can define what these key fields are because you may have more matching criteria that you want to go through to be able to determine if it's a duplicate. But this can go a long way to helping reduce the number of duplicate entries that actually go into your system. Now, if I still want to create a new contact record, I can do that by just clicking create new. It'll take me to a contact form and I can start populating information in there. But this is a great way to be able to interact with your CRM system and reduce the number of duplicate entries from the get-go as well. So let's talk about working on some sales initiatives inside of Pivotal UX. And one of the things that I want to focus on is working with opportunities. I know some of you may use the opportunity form, some of you may not be using the opportunity form, but it's a great way for you to be able to capture details that are going on within a particular sales process. And again, to access that information, all I have to do is click on the three bars on the left-hand side of the screen. My menu pops open for me. I can select opportunities from there, and I have a number of options that are available for me. I can create a new opportunity if I want to. I can go to my opportunities, or I can select that I wanted to pull up opportunities from this period, meaning this quarter. So I select current opportunities, and it's going to pull up all opportunities that are associated with this specific quarter that I'm working on right now, not just any opportunity that has my name tagged to it in the system itself. And from here, I can view details about the opportunities, and I can scroll across again to get more details if I need to. But let's go ahead and open up this opportunity. And once inside the opportunity itself, I can get some details on that particular opportunity. So I can view graphically at the bottom portion of the screen, I can see how close we are to closing, what the decision date is, and the amount of this opportunity. I can even track our current milestones and details around that opportunity as well. I can also come through here and I can see the team that's associated with the opportunity. Here are all of our attached call reports if we're tracking those to the opportunity level as well. I can see all the contact roles. So these are all of the customers, people that we are actually working with in regards to this opportunity. And again, I can scroll through here to get more detail, such as maybe tracking their mood if we're doing some type of sentiment analysis, even down to the role level. I can continue to scroll through here and we can track milestones. Now, milestones, some of you may or may not be using milestone tracking, but it does give you the ability to kind of create a process to work through with goals and tasks that need to be completed, walking you through a specific sales process. We can also keep track of competition. Now, this becomes very important in the next webinar series when I start talking about using key pieces of information to help alert us to next best action inside of the CRM system. So I'm not going to be talking about this today, but just know that in the next session, we're going to be talking about competitors and how we can use key pieces of information like this to help acknowledge that information and help us to drive and make better decisions, letting the CRM system help us to make better decisions. So if I continue to scroll through the top here, I can view our current quote. We'll also keep track of any previous quotes that we have in the system as well. Now you might think to yourself, well, that's all good, but what if we wanted to create a quote? Well, guess what? We can do that right from here too. And I'll walk through that process in just a moment. But for right now, we can keep track of the current quote, which is the information that we have stored in the system, plus all pricing, any discounts and extended pricing that we have associated here. But I can also come down and keep track of the previous quote. So iterations of quotes will be stored within the system as well, in case we want to make changes, updates, or add additional quotes to this. I can also keep track of forecasting. So if I want to forecast this out to a specific quarter and include it and or commit it to that specific quarter, I can do that right from this screen. And as we saw previously, we can also keep track of interactions. So all of our interactions that we have tied to this, meetings, tasks, emails that go back and forth, we can keep track of this at this level as well. So a lot of information that can actually be stored at the opportunity level right in here. Well, let's talk about creating a new opportunity in the system. So if I come out here and select new opportunity, we're going to create one right from scratch. So I'm going to come out and I'm just going to type in sample opportunity. And I'm going to select a company and we'll use Alton Towers. And it will automatically filter out the only contacts that we have for Alton Towers for us. And so we're going to sell to Tracy Burton. And the system is going to ask me for some key pieces of information here. So I need to scroll through here. It's going to ask me for a decision date. And I'm going to say that I'm absolutely positive that this is going to come in by the 30th. Absolutely positive. So we'll be able to keep track of that in the system as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save this in the system as a new opportunity. Now, I want to be able to apply my milestone template over here. So right now we don't have any milestones assigned to this opportunity. But if I wanted to assign some milestones, all I have to do is click on the little three dots in the upper right-hand corner. And when I do that, a secondary menu pops open for me. Now this is very similar to the task pad that some of you might be familiar with, either in Pivotal UX or inside of the Smart Client itself. Now in the Smart Client, this task pad appears on the left-hand side of the screen, but in Pivotal UX, it appears on the right-hand side of the screen. By default, it's going to be closed when you're using a smartphone application. If you're on the desktop mode, you can define on a global way whether or not you want it to be displayed all the time or whether you want it to be removed from the screen itself. But right now I can access it by just clicking the three dots up there. Number of options available to me. One of those is to generate milestones. So I'm going to go ahead and hit generate milestones. Now what that's going to do is it's going to generate the milestones for this. But what's interesting is I can have different milestone templates be available for me. Now I only have one milestone template in here now, and it happens to be the standard milestone template that we actually see here. But I can apply a milestone template that would allow me to display a number of different processes. So if I want to set up different sales processes with different steps, stages associated with them, I can do that inside of here, and I can allow the system to display each one of those for me differently. So I can have different types of milestone templates. If I had different milestone templates, the system would, another pop-up would show up asking me to select which sales I wanted to. So it could be sales process 1, sales process 2, and it might have different milestones associated with them. But it's just a way for me to kind of check off and complete various activities inside the system itself. Well, let's go ahead and create a quote in the system. So if I come out here and go to quotes, I can create a new quote just by selecting that I want to create a new quote. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to select the product right from here. Now, whether you have the data stored in Pivotal itself or whether you're pulling this information from a secondary system like a backend ERP system, we can work both ways with that. So here it pulled over the unit price automatically based on data that I have stored in Pivotal, or I could pull that information from another source, and it's asking me for a quantity. So I'm going to put in 1,000 units here. I'm going to go ahead and hit done, and I'm going to go ahead and save that information in the system. And the system will actually come out and calculate the extended price for that. I could put in a discount if I wanted to at this point, but I want to go ahead and generate a quote. So I'm going to go ahead over here. I'm going to click on the three dots, and I'm going to tell the system that I want to generate a proposal. So generating a proposal is actually going to create a quote for this. And this is something that I can actually send to the client. So I'm going to hit generate proposal. And the system's going to go out and it's going to automatically do a couple of different things for me. It's going to generate a proposal document for me, and it's also going to create a quote inside of Pivotal. So it's created that quote, tied it back to the opportunity that we actually just created, tied it back to the company, and it gives us the status of the quote as being generated, right? Well, now the next step is I want to be able to send this quote to the customer, right? So right from my smartphone, I can go click on the three dots and I can choose send proposal over here. And if I select send proposal, the system's actually going to go out. It's going to generate that email for me, and it includes a copy of the proposal inside as an attachment, as a PDF document. And it even put in Tim's email address for me automatically. And this is all sent out through Exchange. Now that gives me goosebumps just thinking about that because it's incredibly powerful. So I can come out and just put in a basic subject here and a basic body of information. I can type in as many details as I want and then just go ahead and hit send and send that information out. That's incredibly powerful. We've created an opportunity. We've created a quote. We actually send the quote to the customer right from my smartphone. Pretty powerful. And if I want to view what the details of that quote look like, all I have to do is hit on the attachment icon. It'll pop open that quote in the PDF format right here on my phone. Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff. So we talked about creating an opportunity in the system, and we walked through the whole process of actually doing that all up until we actually sent the opportunity or sent the quote. the proposal to the client from there as well. Well, let's talk about interacting with leads in the system. If I come over here, click on the three dots again, I can come down to leads and I can just select leads. And I'm going to go ahead and come in back and look at our rated leads. Now, I have a special list of leads in here called ranked leads or rated leads. And what these leads specify are they are a very specific type of lead in the system that have gone through our rating or ranking system. And the icons that you actually see displayed here are going to be icons that help me to determine what leads I should be focusing on. And I'm going to talk about this concept more in our next session, so I encourage everybody to attend that one. But what we can do in Pivotal is we can display information based on data that we're actually collecting inside of Pivotal. So through the qualification process of this lead, and that qualification process starts all the way from gathering that initial lead information. That may come from our website, that may come from a trade show, that may come from a list that we obtained. The more information that we can actually obtain and categorize that information, then we can use Pivotal to analyze that data and actually display which leads are on target for us. So the way these icons are being read is you'll see an icon there that's in green that looks like a bullseye. Well, that's because based on our analysis, that particular lead is a bullseye for us. We should really be focusing on that lead. You'll see some of these have a question icon associated with them. Those leads are questionable. We really don't know. We either don't have enough information to make a determination, or it just seems a little bit questionable or skeptical. So maybe we don't want to focus too much on those particular leads. Some of these leads have a storm cloud associated with them. Well, that storm cloud could represent that, it's probably not going to be a good win for us, either based on the fact that, when we're selling this particular product type in this market space, we don't do very well. So we can use this information to help us to graphically determine for us where we should be focusing our efforts. And we can get very detailed on this, and I'm going to be talking more about this during our next session as well. Right now, let's take a look at one of our leads that's absolutely a bullseye for us. So let's go in and look at Frank Grimes. When I pull open Frank Grimes' record, there's a lot of information that's being displayed here at the lead level. And I can scroll through it very quickly and very easily. So we integrate with Google Maps, so I can instantly see where Frank Grimes is located, and I can even plan my route. So I can use navigation apps on the phone itself to actually route me to this specific address. It's kind of a neat feature to be utilizing there. I can go down through here, take a look at all of our qualification and look at our activities associated with that. So if we had any meetings or emails that went out, I can track that information right from here as well. But more importantly, I can actually come out and interact with this particular lead. So first of all, we have the ability to do signature capture. Now, you might not necessarily want to use this at the lead level, but I wanted to make sure that I showcase this today because it's a very important feature within Pivotal itself. And so I can come out here and I just click on the signature capture icon, and I can very poorly write my name on there, and it will capture that information inside of Pivotal. Now, you can use this on any form in any place that you want inside of Pivotal to use signature capture. It's kind of a handy way for you to be able to authenticate or to capture that type of information very quickly, very easily. We can also capture data on call reports, just as we saw in many other places inside the system itself. Creating a new call report is very easy, and if I just click on the plus sign, I'll be able to add that record, and it automatically captures and copies over all of the key pieces of information. So the call report's automatically been tagged to the lead, and it gives me a perfect date in here, and all I have to do is select product. What are we talking about here? Maybe this is a follow-up, and I want to just classify. I just want to capture a few details to make sure that everyone understands what I'm talking about today. This is a key talking point, and it's one that cannot be understated. So we capture a few details in there very easily. Go ahead and save that information, and I can go right back to where I was working on in the lead by just hitting the back icon in the top portion of the screen. So let's go out here and create a new lead very quickly. And we'll talk about that process a little bit. Creating a new lead in the system is easy as just hitting new lead. And I have to type in a first name, and I'm going to type in, I'll just make up a name here, Dave We'll call him Dave Bonkers. That seems like a legitimate name. And I'm going to go ahead and hit done, and I'm going to hit save. And we save that information inside the system itself. And I'm going to add in some information in here about where he lives. He lives at 123 Fake Street. And the city is New York. And I apologize for making everybody watch me type all this in, but I do have a point to this because I just want to show how easy it is to actually type this information in. So we type in NW or NY for New York, and I select that. We save that information in the system very easily. Now, the reason why I'm going through this process is I want to show that we can actually take this lead information. Once we capture it in the system itself, I can actually take this lead information and I can hit the little 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. And from there, I can convert this to a company or a contact, or I can convert this to an opportunity. Right? So it makes it very easy for me to be able to interact and to use this data and then leverage the information that we're capturing to create additional records inside of Pivotal. So if I want to convert this to an opportunity, oops, it tells me the fields highlighted in blue are mandatory. Okay, so I've put aside some mandatory fields that I need to be able to put, and I need to be able to capture at a minimum before it will allow me to convert it to an opportunity. The reason why I put that in place is if I don't have the person's phone number, it might not be a very good opportunity. So we want to have a little safeguard in here. So I'm going to put in 1-555-555-1234. I don't think that seems like a fake number, but we will put in his email address, bbonkers@gmail.com. And they want us to put in the country, and it is United States. So we'll select United States and go ahead and save that. And so now I can come out here and say, okay, I want to convert this to an opportunity. Now, when I convert it to an opportunity, it will automatically convert it to a company and a contact in the system as well. So I should probably go out here and mention that he is from the BBC company. We'll save that. And I'll come out here and I'm going to convert this to an opportunity. And I still forgot a field in the system. I think I have one too many digits in there. 555-1234. Okay. I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot a different field. It wasn't the phone number at all. Zip code is 60601. Okay. And if I go out here now and convert this to an opportunity, it's still not letting me do that. Oh, I think B Bonkers, I already have B Bonkers in there. So let's do this. I'm not going to make you guys sit through all this today. The idea is that this automatically gets converted to an opportunity once we actually go through this process in the system itself. And it will copy over all of the information that we actually see in this form and place it inside of an opportunity form itself. And it's a very interesting process when it actually does function the way that it's supposed to function, not like it's fighting me today a little bit. But I wanted to showcase that because it is a very interesting way to be able to interact within the CRM system itself. You'll notice that it automatically mapped the location of Mr. B Bonkers for us just by putting in some key pieces of information. So just a zip code and an address, and it will locate that information and populate it on the map for us. So very quick and easy way to be able to interact within the CRM system itself. The last topic that I wanted to touch on today was being able to take a look at information and all of the information that actually rolls up on the smartphone itself. And so we talked about having different types of dashboards where you can actually have multiple dashboards inside of the system itself. So I can have information pertaining to customer service in here if I want to take a look at my open service tickets, or I can have information related to marketing out here if I want to be able to track lead conversion. So anybody from any job title can look at different pieces of information in here and be able to track this data very easily inside the system itself. But I can also come out here and take a look at information that's pertinent to me. So this is basically wrapping up my quarter. What's going on with me this particular quarter in our sales role that we actually have taking place right here. And so right now I can track my quota. So I can see what my quota amount is, what my forecast amount is pertaining to me. And I can even focus on either one of those by just tapping down at the bottom portion of the screen. So I can say, okay, this is my quota amount or my forecast amount that I have, or my quota amount that I have for this quarter. I can also focus only on my forecast amount in the system itself. And I can even just tap on these to get more details about what those numbers actually mean and what the differences are between my quota and my forecast that I actually have displayed in the system. So I can do a compare and contrast right from here. I can also come across and take a look at my pipeline. Now, we saw this earlier, but this is just another view of my pipeline in the system, where I can actually view these details. And I can also come across and take a look at my committed opportunities. So these are opportunities that I have committed for this quarter. I just know that these are going to come in, absolutely positively going to come in. And I can view those committed opportunities right here and even scroll across and take a look at the value of those opportunities and look at more details that I actually want to display here. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was if we wanted to change the view of information here, we can actually do that. Now you click on the little plus sign up here and a submenu pops open for me. And underneath that submenu, I can choose from any number of different types of charts and graphs and queries that we have predefined in the system. Now, you can actually create your own from within Pivotal. I'm going to be talking about those during our next session. But if I come out here, I can actually go out here and just select Opportunity Pipeline from this listing here, and it'll basically just populate that graph for me. And it appears as a graph that I have displayed here. If I look at the little checkbox icon, it shows me the graphs that I have displayed right there. And as we saw earlier, I can just tap on here and navigate into that information if I want to display it. If I want to remove this from my view, I just click on the little settings icon there. And I can actually go ahead and go through the process of removing this from my display by just deleting that. So you can make modifications by either adding things or removing things from your dashboard right from here, very quickly, very easily. I have another option that I can use to actually roll up information in my system about my particular forecast. If I go on the little three bars on the left-hand side of the screen and I select opportunities, I can actually go out and view my forecast right from here. And if I go out and select my forecast, I'll be able to see all of the information that's pertinent to my specific forecast. So I can come out here and I can look at my employee totals. So here's my quota, my total opportunities, my total forecast, and the difference calculated right there. You see down at the bottom, we have 5 opportunities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 listed there. And I can actually come up here to the top portion of the screen and I can say, what information do I want to show as part of my forecast? Well, I want to see what's currently on hold, and I also want to see what we're not pursuing. And I just go ahead and refresh that information. And I now have 9 opportunities presented here. I can navigate into these opportunities to get more information if I want to right from here, but I can also scroll across, right? And I can actually see dates, times, the status, where we are percentage-wise, what our quote total is, and the forecast amount. And I also have the option to include these in my forecast right from here. And I also see why they were removed. So these items were removed from the forecast. 2 of them were pushed and 1 was moved because of budgetary issues, but it's being all displayed right here. And if I want to make a modification to my forecast, I can do that right from here. This is a great tool if I want to prepare for a meeting with my manager to make sure that I have access to all of the key pieces of information and I'm displaying the information for our next sales meeting. So I can come out here and interact with this information right here. Just makes it very quick and very easy for me to manage my forecast and my pipeline within this one specific form right here on this screen. So I wanted to make sure that we save some time at the end today for questions. I know we talked about a number of different topics today, and I went through that very quickly. Well, one thing that I want everyone to walk away understanding, and this is kind of interesting when you really think about it, what we've looked at today is being done on a smartphone. Everything that we looked at today was all being done on a smartphone, and that is incredible. I get goosebumps just thinking about that because we went through a lot of different pieces of functionality. We went through searching, we went through creating content, we went through the process of converting content. We actually created a proposal. We actually sent that proposal out to the customer, all from the smartphone. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We looked at a standard sales process, but all of these features and functions can be related to other types of business methodologies. Just think of this, the functionality that we looked at today, as a core set of capabilities that you can leverage across all departments, across all organizations, across all industries. And imagine the power that you can have literally at your fingertips using Pivotal UX as a mobile solution. And that's the one takeaway that I wanted everybody to kind of walk away with today, because it's an incredibly powerful thing to be talking about. So one thing that I do want to mention before we open it up to any questions, and I know we only have a couple of minutes left, so I do apologize for that. But we did have a lot of topics to cover. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today, one, and two, I wanted to mention that we do have two other sessions in this three-part webinar series. We talked about the true mobility with the power of Pivotal UX in your back pocket today. And our next session is going to be on June 6th, and it's going to be Pivotal UX, the ultimate desktop experience, followed by Wednesday, June 20th, where we look beyond data entry. And we're talking about the managerial and executive experience inside of Pivotal UX, rolling all of that beautiful information that we just put into Pivotal up to the highest level. So I encourage anyone that can to attend any of these other sessions as well. And so with that being said, we have about 2 minutes left, and I'd like to open it up to any questions that anybody has. Ooh, there's a bunch of them. Probably won't get to be able to answer all of these, but let's just grab a couple of these. Okay. One question is, do you have to add customer data to your calendar and Outlook for it to work the way you've shown here, with the ability to navigate to their contact record? The best way to answer that is that there's a couple of different ways that you can actually do that. You can add the data in Outlook through the use of the Outlook interface itself. You can also have Pivotal look up that information because all of that data is already being stored for the most part inside of Pivotal, and Pivotal knows through the use of its relationship model who the contact is, who the company is associated with that particular contact, and it can pull the time and date stamps of the meeting itself when you actually create the meeting inside of Outlook. So we can take all of that data and populate it inside of Pivotal itself, even including the attachment that we actually saw in the email. So there's many different ways that you can actually accomplish that. That's not really a great answer, but you know, that's certainly one that we'd be happy to take offline and discuss with you further as well. Another question is, if you convert this to an opportunity, does it automatically make a contact record too? Well, actually, that's an easy one because when you convert it to an opportunity, it will actually create the company and the contact record as well. So it will do all of those. You do have the option when you're actually creating a lead to create just a company and a contact, but you can also create the company, the contact, and the opportunity all in one. I think that's all the time we have for questions today. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and I will turn the meeting over to the moderator.
Well, thank you all for attending. We do have standard professional services that you can take a look at, and we can help you take the advantage of mobile and Pivotal UX. Take a look at the link in chat. And also, we'd like to invite everyone out to the CRM conference this fall. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas. I'm going to also link that in chat for you. So please take a look at those two links before you go, and we will see you at the next two webinars. Thank you all for attending.